Hey guys, my assistant engineer insisted that she join me for this episode. So today we're going to discuss tonality, the tonic, the tonal center, the difference between a tonic and a root, the importance of using specific terminology, atonality, reharmonization, remelodization, and the tonal center versus the key. Let's get started. In its strictest sense, tonality is defined as one note in a scale, typically the major or natural minor scale, which provides the sense of greatest relaxation. This note is called the tonic and is sometimes referred to as the tonal center, since all of the other notes of a scale tend to gravitate toward this center to finally come to rest on the tonic. In other words, the notes of the scale demonstrate a hierarchy where the tonic is the note of greatest importance. I say gravity because once you play the notes of a scale, no note other than the tonic gives you that sense of complete resolution and relaxation. For example, let's play the notes of this scale first. Now what if I were to ascend the scale but stop on the 7th degree and not resolve it? It doesn't quite feel resolved until I move to the tonic. This provides the sense of greatest rest and relaxation. What if I start at the octave tonic and go down the scale and stop on the 2nd scale degree? Same thing, it doesn't feel resolved until I move to the tonic. Now that I've played the scale, no other note's going to provide that sense of greatest rest and relaxation, no matter which note I pick. Although this definition of tonality is adequate, I personally define tonality as chords, chord progressions, and/or melody derived from a specific parent scale that gives a sense that one note, the tonic, or chord, the tonic chord, creates a feeling of greatest relaxation. Let's look at the following chord progression and melody to determine the tonality and tonal center. If we were to analyze the melody and harmony of the song, we will come to the conclusion that both are derived from the parent scale of B-flat major. To arrive at this, first let's take a look at the key signature. This key signature contains 2 flats, so it can only be in the key of either B-flat major or G minor. A good indicator of whether it's a major or minor key is the overall feeling the song gives you. Does the song feel happy or sad? In general terms, if it sounds happy, it's major. If it sounds sad, it's minor. The song does not sound sad, so the key of B-flat major is a probable choice for the key. Although not foolproof, another general indicator of which key it's in can be found by looking at the first and last chords in the song. In this particular song, a B-flat major triad is found to be the first and last chord in the song. It's a fair bet that the song is in the key of B-flat major. If we analyze the song from the perspective of it being in B-flat major using Roman numeral analysis, we come up with this chord progression. So as you can see, it's 1, 5, 5, 1, 1, 4, 1, 5, 1. Now let's take a look at the melody. Notice the symbols above the notes. These analysis symbols were developed by Heinrich Schenker, a music theorist. They tell you 2 things: the scale degree the melody note is on from the parent major scale, and the vertical relationship of a particular melody note to the melody note preceding it. For example, this note F is the 5th scale degree of the B-flat major scale, the parent major scale. Notice the 5. The following note, F, is the same note, so it's also 5, and it has an equal sign. The equal sign simply means it's on the same line or space as the note preceding it. The next note is G, the 6th scale degree of the parent major scale, and notice it's the G above the preceding note, F, so it has this symbol pointing up. The next note is F again. It's the 5th degree of the parent major scale, but it's lower than the preceding note, so you have this symbol pointing down. The next note is B-flat, the tonic, so it's listed as 1, and it's the B-flat above, not below, the preceding note F, and so it has a symbol pointing up. The next note is A, which is the 7th degree of the parent major scale, but it's the A below the preceding note, so it has a symbol pointing down, and so forth and so on. So what does all this tell us? First, it tells us that all the notes of the melody and harmony are derived from a specific parent scale. Upon playing it, we come to the conclusion that one melody note, B-flat, and chord, the B-flat major triad, provides a sense of greatest rest and relaxation. Also note there are no accidentals employed outside of the key signature. In other words, everything in the song, the melody and the harmony, is diatonic to the key of B-flat major, and the key signature of B-flat major was created from the B-flat major scale. Does this exhibit tonality? It sure does. So what's the tonal center then? The tonic of the parent major scale, or B-flat. The answer then is that Happy Birthday demonstrates tonality, or you can say it's tonal, and the tonal center is B-flat, the root of the parent major scale. It should be mentioned it's not that common to find songs that are completely diatonic as in this example. Nonetheless, completely diatonic songs do exist, and you can use these analysis methods to help you determine the key signature as well as the tonal center. It's critical that you understand the difference between a tonic and a root, as the differences are often confusing. Although similar, a tonic and a root are not always the same thing. Remember that a tonic is the one note in a scale that provides the sense of greatest relaxation. As we demonstrated in the Happy Birthday example, all notes other than the tonic seem to exhibit a pull or a sense of gravity towards the tonic. This tonic almost always coincides with the name of the starting point of a scale. So, for example, the B-flat major scale has B-flat as its tonic since it starts with the first scale degree of B-flat, also referred to in classical theory as its tonic. The tonal center is also defined by its tonic. In the Happy Birthday example, we demonstrated that the tonal center was B-flat, so the tonic is also B-flat since everything is created from the B-flat major scale. However, in regard to scales, the word root is occasionally substituted for the word tonic, as in, the root of the B-flat major scale is B-flat. While this is relatively harmless in regard to scales, substituting the word tonic for the word root as it relates to chords can be incorrect. Look at the 7th bar of Happy Birthday again and note that the chord is an E-flat major triad. While it's correct to refer to E-flat as the root of this chord, it would be incorrect to call E-flat the tonic of the chord. The note E-flat in this song does not provide a sense of greatest relaxation. Here's E-flat, and here's B-flat. The E-flat major triad doesn't provide a sense of greatest relaxation either. Here's the E-flat major triad, and here's the B-flat major triad. Only the B-flat from the B-flat major scale, as well as the B-flat major triad does. The E-flat major triad simply exists as the 4 chord derived from the B-flat major scale diatonic chord formula. In this example, B-flat and only B-flat is the tonic of this song. The central point to remember is that chords, chord progressions, and/or melody derive from a specific parent scale that give a sense that one note or chord creates a feeling of greatest relaxation is by default tonal music. The tonic of the parent scale that created that tonality is its tonal center. This brings up another point. When discussing music theory, it's imperative that you be very specific with your terminology. Beginning students often get very confused with terminology in the early stages. For example, don't just answer a question with, "It's a major." What exactly is major? Are you talking about a major scale, a major interval, a major triad, or a major 7th chord? Is it a major 7th or a major 3rd? And then, if it's a major 7th, are you talking about a major 7th interval or an actual major 7th chord? What's the difference between all of these? These are things you must know. Be specific with your terminology early on and you'll understand music theory faster and deeper. Atonality can be defined as music that is not derived from a specific parent scale, but in truth, a better explanation might be that no one note can be called the tonic. This translates to the abandonment of any scales to create harmony and melody and an equal hierarchy of notes where no one note is more important than the others. Since there is no single note of greatest importance, there is no center for the other notes to gravitate toward. Hence, atonal music does not have a tonal center. To hear an example of what atonal music sounds like, listen to Threnody for the Victims of Hiroshima by Krzysztof Penderecki. In the Happy Birthday example we discussed earlier, we discovered that the key signature and the tonal center was B-flat major. Therefore, you might come to the conclusion that the tonal center of a song is the same as the key signature, since both tonal centers and key signatures are created from a parent scale, usually the major and natural minor scales. This isn't necessarily the case. At the Guitar and Music Theory Facebook group page, my friend James Stelling reminded me that a song can be written in a key that is not the same as its tonal center when we were discussing whether Sweet Home Alabama by Lynyrd Skynyrd is in the key of G major or D major. Here's the guitar part for Sweet Home Alabama. In this instance, the tonal center is D major, but the song is written in the key of G major. This is because the key of G requires less accidentals to be written even though the tonal center is D major. If we wrote this song in D major, we would have to add a natural sign to every C that appears. James also correctly pointed out that So What by Miles Davis is written in the key of C, but it is clearly in the tonal center of D minor, or to be specific, D Dorian, as we'll learn later when we discuss modal music. Although much of the time the key signature also reflects the actual tonal center, key signatures are not always written to reflect the tonal center. There are a couple reasons for this. A key signature is often primarily chosen because the melody is derived from a parent scale that also created that key signature. In other words, using a key signature created from the same major or natural minor scale that created the melody will require less accidentals written since they would already be included in the key signature. For example, here's the sheet music for You Don't Know What Love Is, a jazz song. I've included some typical chord voicing so you can hear how the melody and harmony sound together. Let's give this a listen. As you can see, there are many F minor 7th chords that clearly anchor the tonal center in F minor. The first and last chords are also F minor 7. Now, here's my arrangement of the same song from my standard Deviation album. This arrangement is what's considered a reharmonization. Reharmonization is a technique where the melody of a song is kept, but the original chords of the song are replaced with substitute chords. We'll learn more about reharmonization in a later episode. Another term, remelodization, is the reverse of reharmonization. The original chords of a song are kept, but a new melody is written over those chords. The jazz saxophonist Charlie Parker was famous for doing this. For example, those of you familiar with jazz might be interested to know that Charlie Parker's Tonality has the same chords as Back Home in Indiana, otherwise known as Indiana. Ornithology has the same chords as How High the Moon, and Scrapple from the Apple uses the chords from Honeysuckle Rose, but also uses the chords from I Got Rhythm in the bridge section. If we return to the melody in my arrangement, you can see with few exceptions that the melody is clearly created from the F natural minor scale. And this melody is the exact same melody as in the original song. Because of this, very few accidentals are necessary since the key signature, which is F minor and was created from the F natural minor scale, already contains those accidentals. However, notice the chords I wrote have almost nothing to do with the diatonic chords created from the F natural minor parent scale of the melody. These chords have almost nothing in common with the F natural minor or even the F hybrid minor diatonic chord formulas. Therefore, the choice of which key a song is written in usually coincides with the scale the melody is derived from. The simple truth is, any piece of music can be written in any key. It just depends on how many accidentals you want to write in. For example, here's the Sweet Home Alabama guitar part again, written in the key of C flat major even though the tonal center is still D major. Even though it's the same pitches, notice how many accidentals I have to write in, namely naturals. The key should reflect the tonal center, but it doesn't always. Writing so that the key signature reflects the tonal center is helpful since less accidentals are used with the melody and the harmony. It can also prepare a musician for the tonal center he or she will be sight reading or improvising in, but these are not hard and fast rules. The second reason key signatures are not always written to reflect the tonal center is that a particular song may have one key but several different tonal centers. To illustrate this, let's look at the sheet music for Have You Met Miss Jones, another jazz song. For the moment, let's cross out the chords we haven't covered yet so we can get a clearer picture of the tonal centers. The key is F major. However, note that there are several tonal centers in this song. It starts in F major, moves to B flat major, then G flat major, then D major, then G flat major again, and finally returning to F major once again. Also observe the notes of the melody change in tandem in accordance with each individual tonal center when it occurs. When the tonal center is B flat major, for example, all of the melody notes are taken from the B flat major scale. When the tonal center is G flat major, the melody notes are all taken from the G flat major scale, and so on. In commercial music, it's pretty rare to see tonal centers change this much in a song, but it's somewhat commonplace in jazz and classical music. Most of the time, a song will begin and end with a tonal center that is synonymous with the key, and if you look at this piece of music, you will see that this is true. For example, the first chord is the 1 major 7 from the F major diatonic chord formula, and the last two chords are the 2 minor 7 and 5 dominant chords from the F major diatonic chord formula. If I were to postulate the reasons a composer or songwriter would have so many tonal centers in a piece, an analogy would be helpful. Suppose you had to travel back and forth from Los Angeles to New York by car. Like most people, you would probably choose the fastest way to get there and back, probably using one of the interstate highways. But if you continued to make the same commute, it would eventually become boring, so you might decide to alter your straight route, stopping over in San Antonio, Texas, and hop on over to Nashville, Tennessee to make your trip more interesting before finally arriving in New York. On your way back to Los Angeles, you might decide to stop by Charleston, South Carolina, and maybe visit Jacksonville, Florida. This is akin to what's happening in this song. Think of the tonal center of F major as if it were Los Angeles. You begin and end there. But the other tonal centers might represent a stopover in Texas, Tennessee, or Florida. It's intended to make the journey more interesting. Hey, thanks for watching the video. Be sure to like and leave a comment below if you have any questions. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. If you like the music you've been listening to, please be sure to check out my friend Gerry Schroeder's album, Melange Trois, at this link.